Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. We are here tonight. I've got a very full panel, so I'm going to quickly go around the room and just introduce everybody. This is hot on the heels of last week's Bring an Opposition Fan On. Tonight we've got Dave joining us. Dave, firstly, do you know Andy? And secondly, what are your views on all money?
Yeah. No, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, I've heard about the last week's fiasco, so I'm sure I'll be a lot calmer than that, I'm sure.
Very good. Nice to have you on, Dave. Shan, how are you?
Yeah, good. I survived the car parks of Skegness, so all is well in the world. I've got Wi-Fi again, so yeah, it's all good. All good here. You may see a dog pop up because I've tried to sit somewhere where there's more lighting, which means there could just be a dog head pop up somewhere, but they're quite nice. That'll be okay.
Don't be so harsh about your boyfriend there, Shannon.
As long as it's not a wolf, that's fine. Dave, Dave O. I'm gonna have to. Oh, this is confusing. Two Daves. Dave O. You are tonight. Dave O. How you doing, Dave O?
I'm all good. Thank you very much. Looking forward to have a nice, non-controversial chat this week.
Are you still locked down?
I'm not mentioning that word anymore. But
no.
Yeah.
Dave is in Australia, so he's in Sydney, Australia, yeah, he's been on. It's an eternal lockdown there, isn't it, Dave? What's November the reopening date? Is it?
Well, they've extended it to the end of September, but I reckon the way things are going, we won't be out until November.
Flipping heck.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, really, isn't it?
Yep.
And you must get really upset when you look at the TV and see full Premier League venues.
Yeah, I do get upset, but then over a period of time when I start watching the games and everyone's got their coats on and wrapped up warm and I'm going to the beach with a t-shirt and shorts, it's not so bad.
There you go. And hello to you, Mr. Globetrotter. How are you? Launched a new venture this week, haven't you? Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Oh, briefly. So there are some guys here I live in Vienna, for those of you who don't know, and some guys here English guys that run the Other Bundesliga podcast, which focuses on Austrian football. And they need an extra set of hands. So I'll be working with them this season, doing some commentary for some of the local games and pretty much translation, whatever they need me to do. So it should be a good thing. So follow those guys on Twitter, the Other Bundesliga. And actually, one of the guys is also from Harlow. So it's a bit weird that we're from the same town. But we haven't discussed that yet because, But so that's it. And I'm well, I've only got 2 weeks left before I go back to work. So, 7 weeks down, 2 weeks to go. It's getting a bit tight here, but I'm having fun.
Yeah, well, I would if I had 7 weeks holiday back to back. That'd be lovely. And it's been your birthday this week, hasn't it, HG? How did you celebrate that? You 50th on it?
Yeah, not yet. I watched Spurs play terribly the day after my birthday. That was fun. I'm not getting those 2 hours back. Otherwise, it's a birthday. My daughter, I think, was more excited than I was. So that was fun.
Okay. Well, many happy returns from all at the Cheese Room. And please do drop me messages in as you're watching the show. We'll try and get through as many as we can while we're on the air. Please, if you're watching on catch-up, leave us a comment. We'll try and get back to you. And do remember that, obviously, Super Chats are the ultimate way to show your support for the Cheese Room. So we've got Wolves Sunday, big match on the back of last week's triumph against Manchester City. First question to our guest here, Dave. What did you think of Wolves' performance against Leicester?
We were all right. I mean, the result, the performance was actually quite promising, to be honest. It's a bit of a joke between Wolves fans now that we're normally rubbish first half and much better in the second halves, and we saw that a lot under Nuno over the last couple of years. And it was sort of like that again on Saturday. First half a little bit slow, allowed Leicester a decent amount of opportunities. But we created a few of our own. Adama Traore, I don't know how he missed some of the chances he missed on Saturday, if I'm honest. But second half, we were all over them. We looked better. Maybe you could argue Leicester, sat back a little bit more, tried to absorb the pressure and sit on their lead. But promising signs. I mean, our first 3 games are really tricky. We had Leicester, we've got you guys this weekend, we've got Man United next week. So if we can get a point, I think, out of those 3, I know it's still quite negative, but a point out of those 3, I think fans will be satisfied. But promising signs, and could have so easily scored 1 or 2 goals on another day.
Yeah, fantastic. And I've got so much to ask you, including Mr. Traore, because there's lots of rumours about him right now. And did you catch any of Spurs beating Oil City United, or the UAE as they're known in Tottenham?
I saw the highlights. Unfortunately, I didn't catch the full game, but obviously, in terms of a result, that's an absolutely massive result for you guys. I think Nuno always did quite well for us against City. To be fair, we got the double over them a couple of years ago. Adama playing really well in those games, but yeah, Nuno maybe not so much last season, but the first couple of seasons in the Premier League, we tended to play really well against those big sides. So yeah, massive result for you guys to open the season.
Yeah, did any of you guys catch any of the Wolves game against Leicester? HG, I know you're a geek. You probably seen it.
I saw the highlight. I saw some highlights.
Yeah, I think I'm the same with Dave.
Thoughts on that? On what you saw?
I'll go. What I saw, I got the impression that Dave's pretty much covered it. Like, Wolves had chances, and the goal that Leicester scored was a really good goal. Like, it's not the type of goal Vardy scores those goals all the time, but still, you don't expect him to find the corner from that angle. So, yeah, I think if I was a Wolves fan, I don't know anything about their new manager, if I'm honest. I suspect Wolves fans were probably the same when he joined them. So to get a decent performance, your first game in charge, it's got to be relatively promising, because you just don't know how things are going to go. I mean, it's like us with Nuno last week. We didn't really know. We'd seen him do stuff for Wolves, but we've got different players, and in some cases worse players. So it was. I think Wolves. I mean, they should have a good season. It's all about scoring goals. And last year they struggled because Raul was out for so long. But if they can score the goals that the manager wants them to, I'm sure they'll have a good year.
Dave-O, anything to add, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Traore missed a couple of absolute sitters, didn't he, on one-on-ones and things like that. And kind of a bit like what Bergwijn did against City when he had that glorious chance as well. So, it looked, from the brief highlights I saw, it looked like Wolves had quite a few chances, could have come out of the game with something, but with better finishing, should have done.
And Bruno Long's just taken over at Molineux, obviously, Dave. What's his kind of playing style compared to Nuno from what you've seen so far? I guess you followed him through pre-season, so you'd have had a chance to sort of see what he's been up to. What could we expect?
A little bit more positive and attacking than Nuno was with us, to be honest. I think especially last season, Nuno played some almost depressive football, and it was really disappointing, the football that we played. And it was obviously didn't really have a strong striker like you said earlier about Jimenez, but some of the football Nuno played was really disappointing last season. But Bruno Lage at Benfica played a really attacking 4-4-2, ended up winning the league with them really comfortably in the end. And I think a lot of Wolves fans are hoping he was going to come in to Molineux and completely change what we've seen under Nuno. It's been predominantly like a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. And pre-season's been a mix of everything, really. We've seen him play 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1. But the last few pre-season games, in the first game of the season, he did stick with a three at the back, like we've seen under Nuno, but seemed to be a lot more attacking, and the front three were a lot more fluid. So I think we'll get a lot of goals. I know we spoke about Adama Traore then. In terms of shots, it was the most shots he'd ever had in a Premier League game. I know he didn't find the back of the net, but that's a promising sign straight away for me. If you're getting an attacking winger and a dangerous winger in those sort of positions to put in those sort of stats. Fingers crossed it's going to bring more exciting football and more goals, because we just didn't have enough of those last season.
Okay. And how do you think, just sticking with you, Dave, for a minute, how do you think Wolves are likely to line up on the back of that then against us? What sort of formation do you think they'll be playing?
I think they'll play a 3-4-3 again. In terms of lineup, it would be very similar to the Leicester game, which was Jose Sarr in goal, a back three of Max Kilman, Connor Cody and Romain Saiss. I think that's an area Wolves really need to look at strengthening, though, those centre-backs. Right wing back will probably be Nelson Semedo. He didn't play against Leicester due to isolating, but I think he'll be back. Marcel at left back. Two central midfielders of Neves and probably Moutinho. I would play Dendoncker, but I think Lage will stick with Moutinho. And a front three of Adama Traore, Francisco Trincao and Raul Jimenez up front.
Who would you pick out as your key danger men, Dave?
Probably Jimenez has got got to be. I'm hoping that he can start finding the net sooner rather than later. I know he's got a fairly decent record against you guys since we've been back promoted. And Adama Traore, I say this all the time because you just don't know when he's just going to click. And it's frustrating. I've probably said for that for the last 3 seasons because he seems to be getting in all the right places, all the right positions, and he's just got to find that final product. Against Leicester, my word, he could have so easily had a hat-trick with just some of the chances that he had. And I'm hoping in a game soon it's just going to click and he's going to explode.
Well, I want to talk about Traore for a minute. So I'm just going to go around the room because obviously you'll be on Wolves Twitter and know all the noise of various different people have all got opinions on players. There's been a lot of noise about Traore being linked with Spurs for a move of around £40 million. So I'm just going to ask the cheeseheads here what their view is on that and try and represent some of what they see and hear, and then sort of put it to you because and don't get too offended by it because I'm not really positive. But just I'd love your perspective on it from someone who watches him week in week out. My dad's a Wolves season ticket holder, and we had him on the show a few weeks ago, and I'll give you his sort of view as well. Shan, I'm going to come to you first, as I haven't come to you yet. Adama Traore, would you want to see him in a Spurs shirt?
I don't think we really need him. I think of all the positions we need to strengthen, that position isn't one of them. I don't see what he offers anything different to Bergwijn. I think they're very similar, very pacey, but not too great in front of goal. So yeah, out of all the positions we need strengthening, and there's a lot. I just don't think that is the most important at the moment. Obviously, we've got Sonny that plays in that area normally as well. Once Harry Kane, the prodigal son, returns.
Oh yeah, no, one of our players has been isolating David. Yeah. All right, thanks, Shan. Davo, your view on Traore?
Pretty similar, really. I mean, look, I think he's a good player. And I'm sure Dave will contradict me here. I'm not sure his assist and goal scoring record is that much of an improvement in terms of who we have already. So I think we need to strengthen other areas first before Traore. I also think it's a classic media press thing in the week that you're playing the other team that some journalist puts in the fact that one team's interested in the other players of another team. It's so typical. A lot happened with that with Man United a lot.
Okay. HG?
Can we train him to become our right back? Is that possible? This is it. Like, I think Traore, like, we all know he's got the skills, but yeah, a lot of it has to happen upstairs, and he's got the physical attributes. And obviously he doesn't work out like he says, but I just think that just what the other two have said, like Adama might be a nice thing, but of all the Wolves players that Nuno could go back for, there's probably 2 or 3 that we'd have preferred ahead of Adama Traore. So, like, no doubt he'll score a hat-trick on Sunday now, but he scored against us once before, so we know he can. But he is one of those players where you know that everything is there. Like, he's not much different to the West Ham player Antonio, right? Antonio is a really good player and really effective at what he does. And I think that really Adama Traore could be that on steroids. I mean, he really could be so much better, but it has
is on steroids, yeah.
I didn't say that. But it's interesting because he does have everything. And of course, like when that time we played them and he scored, and like I think we had 4 or 5 players booked just for tripping him. I mean, we were fouling him as a team. So he's a good player, but it's not what we need. No.
Okay. Dave, what's your thoughts on Traore? Would you sell him?
For the right price, probably. I think all the points that you guys have made are very fair. And whenever I'm talking about any topics to do with Wolves, I always like to sort of see both sides of it. Me as a Wolves fan and what like a neutral fan would see, really. And I said, Wolves were asking last summer for £80 million for Adama, because him and Raul Jimenez had a great connection, got a decent amount of goal contributions. But like Davo said earlier, goal contributions, especially last season, are almost at 0. I think did he get a Premier League goal last year? I think he got 1 Premier League goal last season. And that's, for £40 million, me personally, I think it's a fair price. But how do you sell that to a fan base? how can you say, right, we spent £40 million on this guy, but look, he's only got 1 goal contribution last season. It'd be very, very hard to please a fan base. I know a lot of people, it's not all about stats sometimes in football. You look at the bigger picture, look at his, what he does in game and so on. But I think that would be very, very difficult to get fans on side sometimes with something like that. If a £40 million bid came in, go on.
Sorry, do you see him as your main man? Is he Wolves' star player?
He's the only one that drags us up the pitch, to be honest. He's one of the star players, I'd say. But the thing is with him at the moment, he's got 2 years left on his deal this season, and then it runs out at the end of the next season, and he doesn't want to renew at the moment. There was a lot of talk last season about a new contract, and I think he thinks he's the man, and that's the issue there, where he wants over 100 grand, 120 grand a week, and Wolves are saying, "No, you're all right." So it may get to a point either towards the end of this summer, obviously there's not long left of this window, or even in January, where a team comes in and says, look, we'll give you £40 million. Because I think in Adama's head, he thinks he's a European competition player. I think he thinks he should be playing Europa League, Champions League. So I think it'll only happen if Harry Kane goes and Spurs get a load of money come in. And I know you said the wide positions is something maybe quite stacked in, but I think that's the only way it would happen. I can't see anybody else coming in for him. Just no one else would meet the demands, I think. And I think Nuno's probably the only one that feels that he can maybe get the best out of Adama, because he tried so hard to do it over the last 2 or 3 years.
I mean, I remember when you signed him, I've got to be honest, I thought, oh my God, what have you signed? Because the first season in a Wolves shirt, I watched him a lot because of the connection with my dad.
He was dreadful that year.
He was genuinely dreadful. But then I think the following season, that was his sort of breakthrough season, and he was fantastic. My dad's view on him is there's absolutely a player in there. He's got to be more productive, but there's no one really that can do what he can do. Well, there's very few players that can do what he can do in the Premier League: carry the ball, break through defenders like left, right, and centre. I think he was the second most fouled player in the Premier League last season. Behind Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish, yeah. But in terms of completed dribbles, like he smashes every record.
Yeah.
He even smashed a record, I think, last week alone with that. And just getting it up the pitch, and it's annoying because he does all the hard work. He gets himself in the positions, and it's just like, right, what do you want to do now? The chance at the end of the first half against Leicester, where he broke through about 3 or 4 Leicester players, a standard one-on-one. Any striker in the Premier League would get on target or put in the back of the net, and he put it wide. Another one which I saw a screenshot of it after the game, where it's a 2-on-1 situation. Adama's got the ball on the wing, and he just has to square it to Jimenez, who's got the goal gaping, and Adama just stops on the ball. It's like as if his mind's just gone blank. It's just like just basic stuff like that. If he can just start making that decision quicker, or making the correct decision, you've gone from getting 30-40 million pound for a player to genuinely getting a player for like 70-80 million pounds, just by adding a few goal contributions every season. So it's frustrating. Some games he's a great player to have, and some games you just wish you could get rid of him straight away. He's just one of those players.
While we're on the subject of transfers, do you think you're ready to take Doherty back yet?
Yeah. No, I mean that was a massive talking point. I remember when it first broke, and no one could quite believe it. I thought at the time the fee seemed quite low, but yeah, obviously it hasn't gone quite well for Doherty there. And I thought maybe Nuno coming was a bit of a blessing in disguise for him, but I heard he didn't play too well yesterday either. So yeah. So
I mean, to be fair, nobody played well in the Spurs shirt yesterday, but Doherty being one of the senior ones, we probably expected more. Sure.
Yeah, but I think he was one of those sort of system players that really thrived in a certain system, and then obviously when he went to another club, it didn't quite work out. So, yeah, again, that's another discussion that crops up every now and then. We should get Doherty back, and then everyone's like, "What you on about?" And Wolves Twitter goes up in flames again. So yeah,
I'll drive him there, Dave. I'm being really honest. I will get in the car. I'll take him. I'll go down to Enfield, and I will take him to Wolverhampton. You can absolutely have that gratis. Like, we're not even going to charge for him. We'll pay half his wages. Just take him away, please. That's it. A good question here from Hal. And I'm gonna come to you three guys because I know you've been quiet. Evening, gents. I'd like to hear from Dave Wolf. What's his perspective of how he sees our threats? Is it all Son? What are your views on the Spurs attack?
I think Son's the obvious one. If Kane is in the squad or if he plays, I think Kane is again another obvious one. I think your defence is probably there to be got at, but the attack is, Son. You could argue one of the best players in the league. Kane, obviously, if his head's in it and turns up on Sunday, arguably the best striker, or maybe not even an argument, the best striker in the league. And I think, am I right in saying Dele Alli played last weekend? Apparently, he was pretty good as well. And I think again he's another player with the right positioning and the right mentality. Could be a really strong player for you guys again. But yeah, Son's the danger man. I think there. I like Bergwijn as well, but I don't know if he's been starting for you recently. But it's got to be Son and Kane for sure. The other certs.
Bergwijn's been starting. Shan, what have we made of him?
Yeah, he's looked good. It's the same frustration that you've probably got, Dave, with Adama Traore. He has scored a goal in pre-season. He did score that absolute worldie against Villa at the end of last season as well. So he is starting to find the net a little bit more. But then just when you think he's getting there, he misses a sitter against City. That should have absolutely gone in. But no, I definitely think he causes the opposition trouble. Very similar to Lucas Moura as well. Lucas Moura, again, is another one that's been playing very, very well. So I definitely think we've got enough pace in transitions to cause Wolves problems with Bergwijn in that system without Kane playing as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Bergwijn does do this season. And like I said on Monday to HG, I know disagreed, but I think he's really got this season to prove himself. And if not, then I think that's another one that we need to sort of add to the ship out the door list that's ever growing. Yeah.
It is quite long, isn't it? Yeah. Mark it for a few players, Dave. We can absolutely sort you out. Have a word with Bruno for us. HG, what are your thoughts on how Spurs are likely to line up? Do you think it'll be very similar to last weekend? And then I'm gonna and if you give your spin on tactics, and then same question to you, Dave O.
Okay. I don't think we'll change anything. I think it'll be the same 11 that beat City, if only for the fact that the only person that would really come in is Kane, and I don't think any of us. I mean, I certainly don't think he'll be in the squad at all. So, it'll be a 4-3-3. If Wolves are going to be as attacking as they were against Leicester, that could work in our favour because we played on the counter attack last week, and we'll probably want to do it again on Sunday. So. I think the 4-3-3. The key is always Dele because it's a new position for him, and we just don't know if it's really going to function. A lot of our midfielders they don't seem the best at tracking runners. Our centre backs don't even see the runners. So if Wolves play with that kind of style where they do have runners off the ball, we're going to struggle. I know that Podence has played well against us before, so that could also hurt us. But I think as far as Spurs are concerned, it's a relatively simple task that it will be the same 11. And we will probably play a similar way. I don't see any reason to really change things.
Dave, same question to you. Do you think anything will change? One for you there, HG. Dave?
No, I don't think. I think we'll have exactly the same lineup and exactly the same tactics. I think the interesting thing is that our record against Wolves at Molineux in the last 3 seasons that Wolves have come back up into the Premier League is pretty good. We've won there twice. We've got a draw. But when Wolves have come to the Lane or Tottenham Stadium, I think they've got 2 wins against us. Yeah. At least out of 3. So that's going to be, but that's interesting because we got the manager who got the wins at our place is the one in charge of us now. So we'll line up the same. If we show the passion and endeavour of last week, then I think we've got a really good chance of coming away with something from the game. I think the interesting thing is obviously for Wolves, this is their first game back with a full ground for all the supporters. So when I talked about this during the week, is that cathartic effect of everyone being back in the ground after such a long time of being away, I think that's got to give the Wolves players a boost.
Absolutely. No, completely agree. Any comment on that, Dave? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being back at a full Molineux, and like you said, it'd be a massive boost. The last time we were there, obviously in a full crowd, we were like 4th or 5th in the Premier League, and you see like our form after that just dipped So I know, there was a lot of discussion whether fans being in the grounds affected players' performance, and I think Wolves were one of those severely hit by that. We were like 1 or 2 points outside the top 4. It was the penultimate game was when we beat you guys at the new stadium, when we beat you 3-2. And then I think we had a 0-0 draw against Brighton or something like that back at Molineux, and then it was locked down. And then results just dipped. So I'm hoping full crowd back at Molineux, we can start seeing our results improve again.
Get the old hi-ho Wolverhampton going.
Yeah, the classic, yeah.
Shannon, Nuno was something like 7th choice for Tottenham manager. I think when we appointed him, even behind Fonseca and the Italian fascist Gattuso. So, what's your thoughts on Nuno so far, and how do you think he's handled the Harry Kane situation? I mean, he's grilled about it in literally every press conference, isn't he?
Yeah, Nuno's handled himself really, really well. Like I say, he's just been so classy ever since he's taken the job. I think, yes, he was our 7th choice, but he had other options as well, and he's chosen to come to Tottenham. He wants to be at Tottenham, and I think right now that's what we need. I saw something on Twitter earlier to say that he's made subtle changes to get the togetherness of the group back. Obviously, Jose was an absolute poison chalice in our club last season. It was so broken. You could tell there was just no togetherness in the squad whatsoever. Yeah. So the little changes, like apparently the coaching team and the first team all have lunch together every day. It's little things to try and get the togetherness back in the squad. And our squad is best when we've got that. We saw it under Pochettino. I mean, we may be a bit disjointed at the moment, and obviously we do need quite a few players to come in, and we need just to give it a bit of fresh blood. But when they play together as a team is when we play best, and I certainly think he is getting that ethos back. I mean, we look fitter, we're finishing games strong, so really good signs so far under Nuno, I think.
Would you agree with that, HG?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same in any job. If you want people to work well together, they have to be friends. They have to know each other and understand each other. You can't keep little cliques, because if you do that, then the groups just stay divided. So if Mourinho had decided that, this is the manager's table and the defenders are over there and all the rest, I mean, that just seems so ridiculous to me that I almost can't believe it was true. But the fact that Nuno's come in and said, yeah, we're all going to have lunch together, well, of course. And as Shannon said, everything that Pochettino did was all about the group. We saw so many pictures of 10, 12 Spurs players going out to dinner together. We got used to that. And with Mourinho, it was basically, there was nothing. It was Mourinho buying a leg of ham for someone. Do you know what I mean? It was all Mourinho centric, and Pochettino was never like that. So if Nuno, I saw in the week that Spurs fans are kind of seeing a bit of Martin Jol in Nuno, and most Spurs fans love Martin Jol, and it is that kind of that big, cuddly, but you don't mess with me. But I'm still a funny guy, and Nuno, I as someone who teaches languages, I can't be, I am absolutely impressed by how well Nuno does in, it's not just his second language, it's his 5th or 6th, at dealing with the press and evading these questions about Kane. He's clearly a very, very smart man and understands that teams usually, if they spend their days together, will work together and will try for each other. So it's perhaps that's one of the reasons why the French mafia that we have, Dombele and Orient Sissoko, probably keep themselves to themselves and not part of Nuno's philosophy.
Yeah, Dave, he doesn't take any crap, does he, Nuno? But he does seem to foster this amazing team spirit. Is that similar to what he did at Wolves?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I've seen stories today about Ndombele possibly looking to leave, and I think that's what Nuno was always very strong on. He doesn't want any unhappy players in the squad, and I think across his 3 or 4 years at Wolves, he always had quite a small squad because he wanted everyone, as a close-knit bunch and keep the morale, at a good level. And there were players that, if we had players like Patrick Catrone, for argument's sake, joined in the summer, didn't fit in, kicked up a fuss, and he was gone early January because Nuno just didn't want any negativity there. I think his one regret at Wolves was having that small squad. So it'll be interesting now at Spurs to see how we can manage maybe a slightly bigger squad, but, do the same sort of things. I mean, I saw an article earlier this week that he had breakfast with Harry Kane as well. So, just little things like that. I think, he is good at managing that morale, and you'll see in the media. He's very, like you said, very clever with what he answers. And I don't think he'll be the journalist's best friends. He's very, very sharp sometimes with the media, and you'll see that with interviews. If he's not happy with something, you probably won't get much out of him. But yeah, in terms of keeping a club happy and a team happy, he was pretty good at that at Wolves. And
for an outsider's perspective looking in, what's your view on the Harry Kane transfer saga? What would you be advising him right now?
It's hard, isn't it? I think, it's advising him. I think he could have, or, the people around him could have probably dealt with it a lot better. And I think that's fair, but I think it would be extremely cruel. I think possibly even on Spurs now, if he left with this. I know it's still just under 2 weeks, but I think it'd be very cruel for him to leave Spurs. But at the same time, can he come back into that squad now? It'll be interesting to see how the Spurs fans do react once he's back in the squad. I suppose if he comes back in and starts firing straight away, it'll be forgotten about quite quickly. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? And with the amount of money that's been bandied about, if he goes, say for argument's sake, in the next week, every club in the world is going to know that Spurs have got about 100 to 150 million to spend on a striker, and that's what they're going to be demanding. So very, very difficult situation for Spurs to be in right now, I think.
Absolutely. Davo, you're ancient. Can you remember any classic matches against Wolves over the years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is presumably before Dave's time. Yeah, well, it is before Dave's time, but it's the 1981 FA Cup semi-final. I was, this is how old I am, I was 9-10 years old, and it was the first final that Spurs were on the brink of getting into for many years. And so we were 2-1 up with about 2 minutes to go. The flags were waving at Hillsborough. This is it. And then Glenn Hoddle, of all people, slid in to tackle Kenny Hibbert in the penalty box. Wow. Clive Thomas awarded a penalty, and it was 2-2. And I was absolutely distraught. And we nearly lost it in extra time. And then the next day, Kenny Hibbert said in the press that he dived. And I think that's the first time I've been genuinely very, very upset about football. And then the beautiful follow-up was... The replay was at the library, and that was 3/4 full of Tottenham fans. We took the North Bank, and we won 3-0. It was a great night. And then, and so Ozzy, our dealer, said many years. So the Tottenham fans basically, and I'm not condoning this, did their level best to kind of redecorate library that night. and it came out afterwards that the Spurs players did their level best to redecorate the director's box at the library as well. So fond memories.
It does sound good. HG, any favourite memories of Wolverhampton Wanderers fixtures?
Well, when they beat us at Wembley and I went one Christmas, that was a great memory. It was a good game because you deserved to win. I mean, I sat right behind Kane's rocket and I was like, great. Now I had my wife with me, first time she'd ever seen Spurs, and the last time because we lost. But
she's the unlucky charm, is she, HG?
I'm not taking her to Spurs again. It's crazy. She didn't really enjoy it, and it was cold. She's a California girl. She doesn't like the cold. Outside of that, like I've obviously seen the the DVDs of the 72 UEFA Cup final. I wasn't alive for that. Dave was, but barely. I just like. I feel like over the years, games against Wolves have been really tough. Like I remember one game. Probably 15 years ago now, we went there and Wolves beat us 1-0. I don't know why I remember that, but I'm pretty certain David Jones scored the goal.
That's correct. It was, yeah.
So there you go.
That was a great goal as well. That was by Wolves, to be fair. Good team.
Wait, it has to be a good goal to be against Tottenham. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's true. Any worldies are out the way.
That's the last time we've beaten you at Molyneux. That game is.
Is it really?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
You were in lower divisions that many years. I'm just kidding.
I know. To be fair, we've probably only played you about 4 or 5 times since then at Molyneux, but yeah, that's the last time we've beaten you. Yeah.
Wow. So nothing outrageous. Just my best friend's a Wolves fan, so I always give him stick. But usually 6 months later, he gives me stick. That's the way it seems to be right now. The two sides are pretty evenly matched the last 2 or 3 years.
How about you, Shan?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I haven't really got many. I'm not going to lie. No, I mean, I think the one that sticks out to me is when Super Jan Vertonghen scored from that corner.
Oh.
And he was like, yeah, that's probably my favourite. Obviously, he's a club legend in his own right. So it was in his last season?
Yeah.
Second from last season.
I think, maybe the last one actually. Yeah.
Last season, yeah. So obviously it was he loves Spurs, doesn't he? Spurs through and through, and that for me was my best memory against Wolves. Jan Vertonghen, Superman celebration. You can't beat it.
I mean, and that's just it. And that game especially, like Vertonghen against Traore, the entire game. I think Vertonghen played left back that day.
He did,
and got destroyed by Traore, and at the end he got the winner, and you're just like, how have you come
it was
around
Traore who was meant to mark him as well, and he just completely left him, and Vertonghen scored the winner.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's not really a fond memory of a Wolves match, but the last game at Spurs before lockdown was your lot, Dave, at Spurs, and I took my dad. It's just quite funny, I suppose. Really, I took my dad his first time at Spurs end, but of course I got us 2 tickets in the Spurs end, and he's a Wolves fan. And honestly, so I'm there going, right, whatever you do, don't celebrate, don't make a scene, don't embarrass me. And he's literally going, God! I'm like, it's all right, in pain, don't worry, it's just an operation. But yeah, so remember that for all the wrong reasons, really, losing the game. But it was a great day out with my dad. So and in the car, because I'm an arrogant sod, I was looking for all the reasons why we should have beat them, and probably just winding each other up the whole way home. So, Dad, if you're watching, I'm sorry about that. What I would say is a question for you, then, Dave. If you could have one Spurs player you really dislike or dislike Wolves playing against, who would it be?
I don't really dislike him, but Lucas Moura always seems to, whenever I remember, score against us. I think he scored. He scored a header against us one year. He scored a great goal at the near post against us at Molineux as well. I think that was that game Vertonghen scored in. The header might have even been the same game, actually. Yeah, so he's always one. I know when Sham mentioned him earlier, I thought that's someone that I've always thought was a bit of a danger man whenever we played you guys. But I'm a pretty neutral fan, really. I don't have many players or many teams that I dislike. To be fair, I'm a bit of a fence sitter, unfortunately.
And Sham,
Dave, very reasonable. I know, compared to last week.
I mean,
it's a lovely change, I must admit.
We haven't got on to club ownership. Let's talk about that. So we can't really take the mickey out of your club, because obviously it was all City last week. But what do you think of your club being owned by and run by a Chinese conglomerate? And do you still have a little firework display before your home games?
Yeah. I'd be interested to see if we have the fireworks and the flame boxes and all that. Yeah, nah. I mean, they came in and it was a bit of a nice change from what we'd had before. It was a guy called Steve Morgan who was from Liverpool, and he had a little bit of money, and he ran the club fairly well, but it was always going to be Championship standard. He was never going to be somebody that could dig deep enough in the pockets to make us become a regular Premier League team. And it was through a phase where the Chinese started throwing a lot of money at football. And, took us a year or so to get the hang of it, but, got us in a great position, and obviously close ties with Jorge Mendes, which, a lot of people, it's a discussion in itself, really. But yeah, this season, or the last couple of seasons, transfer windows and the money, I mean, we're still pumping in the money, but possibly not on players that we'd normally like. Yeah. So, yeah, a couple of question marks over the ownership for the first time, especially as we didn't finish as high as we wanted to last season, but... all okay at the moment, I'd say.
Probably not as many human rights abuses as the City owners either. Maybe, I don't know. Dave, it does appear that the sort of money's sort of run out a little bit at Wolves. Is that fair to say? Because they throw a lot of money at it getting to the Premier League, but it does seem to have calmed down a little bit at Wolves. Is there a change of direction from your owners, or?
No, I think that's a fair point, to be fair. And I was going to say the same thing, and then I realised we spent 35 million on Fabio Silva last summer, 30 million on Nelson Semedo and so on. But now there is, especially this summer, because we're just not spending much money, and it was made pretty clear in the press that we've almost got to sell to buy this summer. And there is a concern. I think there's changes in the Chinese government and all that about money being pumped in abroad. So there are concerns about that now. And the club deny that. The club say there's no issue with that. But who knows? I think the next 2 weeks of the window will be interesting. If we don't spend any money, then I think I'll fully agree with that statement.
Am I right in saying that you've fallen foul of financial fair play sliding? You've got to break even the next couple of seasons.
It was to do with the UEFA financial fair play, and it was mainly because, I know it sounds ridiculous, we qualified for the Europa League a season too early. So obviously it comes in 3-year stages, and because we spent a load of money in the Championship, we got straight into the Europa League, and then we sort of, fell short on the UEFA one. So there are rumours that we've got to tread carefully, but I think with the business and the players that we've sold, I think we should still be okay. It's just a little bit frustrating as a Wolves fan where you can see glaring errors in the team that need addressing, and it's just not being looked at yet.
Can I ask you a question, Dave? If there was one Wolves player that you'd want to sell or you think is the most expendable to get 30, 35 million or whatever, who would you let go of?
It's a tough question. I mean, the main two that we're talking about, or let's say 3 at the start of the summer, Adama was one, like I said, valued at about, values have changed. It was started at about 30 million at the start of the summer. Now it's about 40, like we've been speaking about. Neves is another one. They're valued at about £40 million, which I think we could probably squeeze a little bit more out of. And Pedro Neto was one as well. But Neto's got a bit of a serious injury at the moment, so that's a no-goer. So it'd be Neves or Adama, and I wouldn't really want to sell either, to be honest. But in terms of, to get the club a quick bit of money, it would be probably one of those two that are the most valuable, I'd say.
I'd love Neves at Spurs, I'll be honest. I think he'd be a real acquisition. Shannon, if you could buy one Wolves player, who would it be?
Yeah, probably Pedro Neto, but like Dave said, obviously he's injured at the minute, so it'd be we don't need any more injury-prone players at Spurs because we've got enough of our own. Usually Argentinian, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. But yeah, probably Pedro Neto. I think is it right, Dave? He's right-sided predominantly, so
can play either side really.
Yeah.
He played on the right a lot. He sort of interchanged with Adama quite a bit, to be fair. Yeah.
So that's a position that we need to strengthen, the whole right side of the pitch. Obviously, we could send Doherty back. You lot would all be happy, and then we could get Neto, and everything would be fine. But
not if he's injury prone, Shan. Not if he's without his injuries.
To be fair, I'd still make that trade.
Send the doc back. Yeah, Dave O. Anyone who you would want to sign?
I'd have signed a João Moutinho about 5 or 6 years ago. João Moutinho. I think he's a really good player, and a typical Enoch screw up that we didn't sign him on that deadline day. But that's another story for yet another time. So I liked him. I think he's a good player, class, and would have brought something a little bit different to our midfield. We were after him to replace Modric, after all. So I liked him.
I mean, I'm going to put it out there. I'd want Jimenez if I was signing one player from Wolves. It's yet to be seen whether he's going to come back to be the player that he was post-injury. But, we're after a striker, a centre-forward. Absolutely, It'll
be interesting to see if Kane went, if Jimenez became an option for Spurs. I'd be intrigued. But again, that's such a big risk for someone that's come back off a serious injury.
That's it.
Yeah.
HG, you look like you wanted to say something, then, which it happens quite often. So I'm good at reading it now.
I do talk a lot. It's true. Look, I don't see Spurs wanting Raul because he's what 30, 31 now.
Yeah.
Levy is very much about trying to get youngsters in. I think the only time we ever bought anyone over 30 was Llorente, and he did 2 years at Spurs and played 20 games. I don't see that, but he's someone that we would need. But it's one of those weird things that Raul's pretty fortunate to be playing football anyway. And I feel like it would be a bit harsh on Wolves if he turned around and said, I'm off.
Cheers,
I don't think they deserve that. And I mean, Raul, to be fair, I'd seen him in World Cups for Mexico and he looked okay, but I never thought he'd do what he ended up doing at Wolves because he really was, certainly 2 seasons ago, a really good striker in the Premier League. I just think that maybe Wolves is the height of his career. I don't really see him going anywhere bigger than that. Not to say that Spurs are bigger than Wolves, but do you know what I mean? It's just this idea of like you want to make progressions up the clubs, and Spurs have been a stepping stone for many years. And I think Wolves, with all the Portuguese speakers they have there, it's a pretty good place for him to be.
Absolutely. There you go, Dave. If you're looking for players, we can say Dyer, Sanchez, Winks, Doherty, and a few more for the price of a few footballs if you want. Amen to that. Any of those lot you'd fancy?
I mean, look at Eric Dyer. He can speak Portuguese, so he could fit in quite well. Sanchez, who just signed another Colombian centre back, so you could slot in with him there. We were linked with Winks earlier this window, but I always thought he was all right. But a lot of people told me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
And Doherty, I mean, we've been there already, so yeah. I mean, out of the four, if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Sanchez.
So pick Winks, take Winks.
Please take Winks.
He's really good, honest.
Winksiesta.
If you've got a comment for Wolves, Dave, not Dave-O, we don't want him banging on anymore, but if you've got a comment for Wolves, Dave, do stick it in the box and we will get to it. We're going to briefly, we're going to talk about the match last night briefly because it was an abomination. So Pacos de Ferrer, have you seen their social media, first of all, Shannon? I mean, what the fuck is that? They are trolling us like you would not believe. I've never seen anything quite like it. Dave, if you haven't seen it, get on Twitter, check out the trolling that
I've seen them winding you up, yeah. I've seen
it. Oh, unbelievable. Have you seen it, Shannon?
Yeah, what the video of the beaver?
Yeah,
the video of the beaver doing Lily the cockerel up the
humping the cockerel. I mean,
that's one of the most awful things I've ever seen in my life, and I really, it's probably worse than the trolling from who was that Israeli team we played last season? I can't remember their name.
Haifa. I think it was Maccabi Haifa.
That's it, and they were like, Harry Kane, suck on my cock.
Really?
This is worse than that, I think. Like, it's just, I mean, Lily's an icon, isn't she?
Isn't it? It's amazing what you get away with in these countries.
I mean, we did then go and beat them 7-1, so hopefully it's a good omen. Look, when these teams do tend to troll us, we then turn up and just absolutely smash them. So hopefully it's a good sign. But I saw that and I wanted to close my eyes. I was like, this isn't moral. It's horrible. You can't take our mascot and do that.
No, you cannot take our mascot and do that at all. He'll sing the birdie song at you or something. HG, we're going to turn this around in the second leg, aren't we? I mean, I've seen a minor Twitter meltdown. It's not as big as some of the Twitter meltdowns I've seen previously, but surely we can't read too much into that game. I mean, it was the reserves, wasn't it? I mean, Harry Winks even got a game.
Look, if last night was an indication of how seriously we're going to take the competition, then it is probably better that we do get knocked out, although I don't want that to happen. I didn't really agree with the fact that we played so many kids and that we made 11 changes. I mean, no one played on Sunday and Thursday, and all that means is next week we're probably going to have to play a lot of players on Sunday and Thursday. I don't really understand the logic, but if anything, we were lucky it was only 1-0. So we can hope that since the away goals rule has gone, that we can do enough. And if we're winning 2-1, we know it's going to go to extra time rather than us going out. So I don't want Spurs to be in that position. We didn't need to be. Like, there were other teams who had similar games and they went out in the first leg and they won by 3 or 4-0. I know Feyenoord won 5-0 and Union Berlin won by, I think, 4. Spurs could have done that, and we wouldn't have had to play the whole team to do it. But we could have certainly, I think, made kept 4 or 5 of the team from Sunday in last night. But I don't know. There are lots of Spurs fans who just don't want us in the competition and just want to sack it off, which I don't understand, because they're usually the same people who are complaining that Spurs don't win trophies.
Oh, they are. They want trophies, just not that trophy.
I know. I mean,
if we got to the final, all of a sudden.
They swallowed the Pochettino bullshit of that there was only 2 trophies worth winning. And that's basically it. And so, look, we understand that there are priorities and levels, and you'd rather win the Premier League than you would win anything else, or even Champions League. But do you know what I mean? For me, I'd rather win the Premier League than the Champions League. That's just me. But the idea that we should just decide, no, we don't care about this competition, that makes us feel like Arsenal of 15, 20 years ago. I don't want to be that club. Right, I want us to go. I want us to be like City were last year. I mean, City were 1 or 2 games away from winning everything. Like, it's unrealistic for Spurs to be like that, but we should at least want that. I don't know why we would suddenly feel that we're too good for this, because this is Spurs. It's alien to me. It might be an age thing, but to me, it's alien.
Davo, did you watch any of that game?
No, I was fast asleep. So
it was Harry Winks.
Yeah, and if we get through to the group stages, I might need to do a deal with another member of the family out here to get to watch it on the TV. Look, when I was on here last week or this week, and I was asked to predict the lineup, I think I had 2 of the starting 11 from the City game were going to start, so I didn't have a problem with the team that he picked. As far as I'm concerned, out of the 4 competitions this year, this is the least priority for me. Caller, you said a couple of weeks ago that it's a good fallback plan to get into Europa if we don't get through the league. Well, that's the League Cup and the FA Cup. You can get into Europa via that. So that's the same effect.
You've been waiting a whole week to tell me that.
No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Two weeks ago.
Did you just not clock it like straight away? Did you think about it afterwards? Was it one of those ones that hit you while you're in the shower or something?
Well, if you want to think of me in the shower, caller, that's lovely. But you've also got to remember the fact that this is 6 a.m. in the morning. I'm not at my optimum until midday. All right. So the brain. Yeah, exactly. The brain's not ticking. So look, and the thing about Poch, and can we just again let's get through this about Poch. In his 5 years, he took us to 3 finals. He took us to semi-finals. No, but this is the thing. Everyone goes, Poch never cared about the cup. Sorry, leaving aside the Champions League, we got to 2 finals or 1 final, and then 3 semi-finals. Yeah, 1 final and 3 semi-finals.
In his first year, wasn't it? So he didn't.
Chelsea was in his first year.
Yeah,
and then we had 3 semi-finals, right?
Yeah, isn't that where he played Son at left back?
That is.
That'll trigger some people.
That triggers me.
Dave, I'm just basically quoting what he said. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, what is it, that only 2 trophies will change Tottenham, and for a lot of Spurs fans, no, there are more to win. So it is kind of on Pochettino that the club decided that they weren't going to prioritise or at least take them that seriously. Playing Son at left wing back when you've got Davies on the bench and Walker on the bench was just silly. We've seen Trippier play left wing back for England since then. So there's a lot of like Pochettino love. So we can't ever criticise him because he was so good for Spurs, but he made some catastrophic decisions in those semi-finals. He played Michel Vorm in goal, which he hadn't done all year, but it's like, well, he's the cup goalkeeper. But no, this is a semi-final against Man United. We want to win this. We want to get to the final. Spurs haven't been in an FA Cup final for 30 years. So it is kind of on Poch that we didn't do that. And both runs to the League Cup final that we've had in recent years, we had really, really piss easy draws. We only played championship teams for most of them.
I just want to shout this out. The problem between the difference between being 6th and 7th, Pierre is worth more than winning the conference. That's nonsense that I'm aware of. So I'd like you to back that up, please, Dorso, because I think it's worth like 500 grand. The difference.
Yeah, I think it's about a couple of million at most between prize money between those.
The prize money for winning the conference is like 18 million or something.
I think if you win every game, it can get up to that. Yeah.
I thought you meant the non-league conference. I was trying to say I didn't understand what you meant.
There's only one conference in town now, though. The big conference.
I was going to add when I saw someone commented on it yesterday. Wolves, when Nuno was in it's slightly different because it was the qualifying stage of the Europa League and it was really early because it was basically our pre-season. Mm-hmm. But when we played Crusaders from Northern Ireland and Punic from Armenia, Nuno played a full-strength team. So when someone said it's strange how Nuno played a full-strength team and then sort of completely rotated for Spurs, I did think that is strange. But like I said, it's sort of clocked now that was our pre-season, basically those early games. But you'd expect now he'd have to play a few of the big boys in that return fixture for you guys anyway.
He better.
There you go. Howdy, from Beaker. So there you go.
Beaker.
I love Beaker. Reminds me of an old friend who looked like that. Jeff says, I want Spurs to win every match, but treat conference for what it is, a third-rate tournament. I want us to win every cup, but I want to treat it like a third-rate tournament. Play youth backup if we get bounced a bit. Priorities top 4. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Phil, interesting to see what Dave thinks a good season for Wolves would be. Dave, over to you.
A good season for me would be a strong top half finish, possibly knocking on the door for, top 7, top 8. A very good season would be achieving, breaking into that again. But I think, unfortunately, we finished 7th in our first 2 seasons under Nuno. Europa League the first season, should have finished a lot higher that second season. I think you guys just about beat us to European football that year.
Yeah.
And then last season was a disaster, really. And unfortunately, last season, as we sort of stood still, you had teams like Villa, possibly even West Ham and Leicester, take serious steps towards the top 6 or 7 again. So it would take a big push, but if we could break back into Europe in some capacity, that would be phenomenal for us this season.
So Dave, Villa's obviously one of your big local rival.
Yeah.
How do you think they've handled the Grealish transfer and bringing in the players and what they've done?
I think they pretty much. I think they knew at the start of the summer he was going, because they spent quite a bit of money early on, and I always had in the back of my mind, I said you wouldn't, like, they were announcing a lot of signings before he was even sold. So I think they dealt with their recruitment side of things quite well. Obviously their fans were really upset about it, but I think I saw their CEO or something even release a video of it about it the day after, which I thought was really good. So I think they've dealt with it quite well, and almost complete contrast to the Kane saga, because that's so, it's been so publicised. The Grealish thing, although there were rumours about it at the start of summer, it moved quite quickly. But they had their business done before. But like I said earlier with you guys, people know you're going to sell him, and if you do sell him, you haven't got the replacement in beforehand. Everyone's going to know you've got £150 billion to spend, so it's going to be a really difficult one.
I don't think there's going to be a punch-up, I'm afraid.
Sure.
Not managing expectations. Right?
No,
it's
all love. It's all love in the cheese room. Come on.
Yeah.
We got the love today.
What? People are desperate for some bloodletting with you, Sean. I don't quite know what's going on, really. You've got this reputation now as a man abuser.
I don't even think I was that bad. The thing that really got me was when he turned around and said, "Why would anyone invest in Spurs Stadium when we don't win anything?" But the fact was they hadn't won anything in 36 years before the oil came in. So that argument was just completely ridiculous. And I wouldn't have had to fight with him if he let me speak and get my point across. So no, we like Dave A. Dave A's nice.
Yeah.
Dave A can come back. Andy definitely not.
No, I'm not interrupting you right now. I'm desperate to, but I'm not daring to. Because they also didn't have to build the stadium because they got gifted one by the council, but that's another story.
Correct.
As well. Right, let's talk Kane. We've got to, unfortunately. Oh, Dave-O, is Kane going to be reintegrated for this one? Do you expect to see him on the bench maybe or in the team? I mean, I can't see him starting personally. What's your view?
He's not. Best case scenario is he'll be on the bench. That's the best case scenario. Or he'll play next Thursday to bring it back in. But the reality is it's getting later and later now. If we sell him, you've got to get... We still need a striker. If we sell him, we need 2 strikers. So I see that Bamford signed a new deal with Leeds this week. Yeah, and they're leaving it later and later. If Levy turns around and sells him now, even at 150, and we're scrambling around for strikers, and we've done this before, then we've got a real issue.
Sham, it's getting harder to see him staying or going as every day goes by. We just don't know how it's going to pan out, really, do we? What's your view with when he comes back into the side? Should he come back in for this one?
Well, he's actually training with the squad again now, isn't he? I saw a photo of him with Reguilon earlier on today. So no one's kicked him. I think he's quite lucky Lamella's not there, to be honest, because I reckon Lamella would have just gone too fitted into him in training or something. But obviously there's rumours of a Hugo and Harry bust up as well. I don't know how true that is, but with Hugo's previous, it wouldn't surprise me.
You were all over that rumour. You want that to be true.
I think it would be hilarious. I'm not going to lie. But no, obviously we want harmony in the squad. Like I said earlier, we perform best when the team is cohesive and they're getting on. We don't need another Jan Eriksson situation where has he or has he not slept with his wife. We don't need that in the squad at the minute. So, yeah, I can see Kane being involved on the bench, but I think it depends on his attitude from here. I mean, the photo he released on social media was just ridiculous. It was a pathetic attempt to get fans back on side.
Talk us through that photo, HG, while I take a small comfort break. I want to know what your thoughts are, what your feelings are. I mean, we assessed his shadow and looked at it carefully. If you turn it upside down, it looks like devil horns. Could he be the devil incarnate?
To me, the idea, the thing that got me was he said another session in the bank. This is the first picture we'd seen of him in months, certainly in Spurs kit. And suddenly it was like, oh yeah, another session. I mean, no one really believes anything that we've been told, apart from the fact that we all know Kane wants to go. We all understand why he wants to go. And a lot of us can appreciate why he wants to go. But he doesn't get to make those decisions. Like, the length of his contract means he has very little leverage. And we've been through this 200 times already this summer. Nothing has changed until City offer the money that Levy wants. I mean, all this stuff this week about, Levy's got to pick up the phone and negotiate with City. Well, why? If he doesn't want to sell him, if I don't want to sell my house, I don't put it on the market. I don't pick up the phone when someone wants to. You just don't. I feel as if the entire media focus has been on Levy and the things that Levy has to do. Levy doesn't have to do anything. City have to make it so that we have to say yes. That's the only way that Kane will get his move. And if I was a City fan, I wouldn't want them to do that. I'd much rather they save their money and spent it on a couple of 80 million strikers next summer, or buy some other players this summer. Because the thing with City is that we know that they could buy a couple, 50 million striker here and an 80 million striker there. They could buy Vlahovic and Martinez, the two that we've been linked with. They could buy those strikers and then next year think, actually, we don't need them. We'll sell them for a loss, and no one will really bat an eyelid. So it's all on City this, and now we've got a week and a half before the end of the window. I know that Levy has form for selling on the last day, but surely Levy will understand that it makes no sense for the club to do that. It makes even if we do have replacements lined up and ready to go, if Kane moves. It should have been decided already, right? Unless if you don't offer the money before the middle of August, before the start of the season, he's not leaving. End of. And I just, it's a really, really strange situation. It really is. Shan, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Levy's going to want to upset the fans any more than he already has. I think he's come out of this situation with credit in the bank. I mean, at this moment in time, Levy is actually more popular with Spurs fans than Harry Kane is, which I never thought would ever happen ever. So I don't think he's going to jeopardise that by then selling Kane with a week and a half to go. I don't think he's going to go anywhere now, and he needs to suck it up because Levy holds all the cards. If him and his brother weren't such idiots and put a release clause into the contract, he wouldn't be in this situation. So he's only got himself and his camp to blame, and his new PR people can do all they want to try and turn it around, but it's going to take more than that to get the Spurs fans back on side, because he has disrespected us a lot. It's not the same as Bale, Modric, Berbatov, because Harry Kane is meant to bleed Spurs. It's completely different. He could be a club legend even if he doesn't win anything with Spurs, and he's jeopardising that to go and win hollow trophies elsewhere. It just don't make any sense. So, but yeah, obviously Kane loves Kane, and Kane's going to do what's best for Kane, and we've spoken about it so many times. It's just a bit boring now.
There are similarities between Kane and Levy. I firmly believe that. Levy will do what's best for the club / Levy, right? Because Levy owns a certain percentage of the club. And Kane wants what's best for Kane. It's just that Levy gets to decide in this negotiation right now. Kane doesn't. So, yeah, I don't know. Like in every other occasion, you'd be thinking, right, Kane is on his way, right? Because this is what happens with Spurs before. We sell players right at the end, or someone offers enough, or Kane decides to withdraw his labour completely and is convinced he's never going to play for Spurs again. But because we've been here before, you'd like to think that Levy has at least learned something from it, and that's going to be the interesting situation. Has he really learned anything from it? When Berbatov left, I think we'd already lost Keane that summer, but we still had a couple of strikers anyway, or at least Pavlyuchenko, I think. In this case, we'd have nobody. Son isn't really a central striker, and Parrott's out on loan, who's still only 19 himself. The idea that we could just allow Kane to go without having anyone. I don't think much of Levy, but even I find that very difficult to believe that he would sell and not have anyone coming in. I know there are people who really think that's possible, but I can't think he'd be that stupid.
I've got a question here. Caller, I know you love beer. Factual. What is the connection between Spurs and Wolves with beer? Well, I'm a little bit confused, really. Having one with my dad, or is there a Holston Pills sponsorship or something that I've missed? Does any of the panel know this? Know the answer to this? What's the connection between Spurs and Wolves with beer?
Maybe was it Spurs'? The old White Hart Lane was on the site of some brewery owned it first. It might be that. We have to. Sorry.
Banks' brewery is in Wolverhampton. I don't know if that's anything to do with it. Might be. I don't know.
We're waiting for Ian to come back because none of us know, and this could be an awkward 20 seconds while we wait.
Do come back with it. Leon's had a few sherbets tonight. Water. He's teetotal, so £60 against Villa. Levy cares about the fans, but he did lay on free food. Leon, in case you've forgotten my man versus food challenge, it's all there on Twitter, where I ate the whole of the South Stand.
Levy doesn't care about the fans. Come on.
Well, we kind of knew that would be your response, Dave, so we preempted it. Robert Plant's son.
Yeah. And so who is Robert Plant's son, caller? Oh my gosh, caller. So the beer at the stadium. What's it called? Nick Oil.
Beavertown. Okay, yeah.
That is Robert Plant's son. He owns it, runs it, whatever.
I didn't know that.
Ah, right. Okay, there you go.
Oh.
Do you know who Robert Plant is, Shannon?
No.
There we go. There we go.
Come on, Dave. Give her a history lesson. You're good at that.
I'm scared I'm going to get... Oh, not
Okay,
me.
Shannon, have you heard of a band called Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Stairway to Heaven. You must have heard of Stairway to Heaven.
Goes on for ages.
Where's this going?
Robert Plant is the lead singer of Led Zeppelin. Massive Wolves fan.
Right.
Was he on the board at some point?
He's like, yeah, I don't know if he's still classed as like, I don't know what they call them, like presidents or something, or directors or something. He was definitely on the board at some point. He even performed at the end of season dinner a couple of years ago that I was at. So
there you go.
Nice.
He's a proper celebrity, proper fan of his local club, and much respect to him for that.
End of season dinner. I want to know more about this end of season dinner.
Yeah, so do I actually. Go on.
Tell me more.
They do it. When did I go the first time? When we won the championship with Nuno, I think. So yeah, they do an end of season dinner, and obviously all the players are there. They do all the awards and so on, and fans could go. And I somehow wangled table number 1 right at the front, and I was on a table with some of the Wolves coaches and stuff like that. And then I think that was the one he performed at. So they're pretty people off Sky Sports present it and stuff like that. And then the year after I got a ticket again and it completely changed. I was right at the back and they'd barriered off all the players. The year before you could just go around mid-dinner and have selfies with the players. The year after it was all barriered off. You needed a VIP pass to
You
get
got to
through.
stay big time overnight, you see.
That's it, yeah. One Europa League qualification and they can't even have a picture of us. So yeah.
I mean, how does Robert Plant stack up against some of Tottenham's celebrity singers? So we've got Phil Collins, of course.
It's Phil Collins. I didn't know that. Chaz and Dave.
Phil Collins, Adele, and of course our friend Anthony Costa from Blue.
Listen, Anthony's a good guy and a friend of the show. So
that's what I said. I'm just lining up the musical legends. That's all.
And every day when I go to work, he's playing over the tunnel system at some point. So yeah, God, sorry, that was your question, Dave.
What?
How does Robert Plant stack up?
Oh, sorry.
Have you got any celebrity fans?
Trying to think of anybody else. Probably awesome, but I don't think there's many of note. I think I've seen a picture of Mike Tyson in a Wolves shirt once. That's probably
really?
It, yeah. I think it's one of those celebs. You see, like the American celebs wearing different football shirts every team.
Oh, they're mad for it.
On the spot now. There's probably more than I think. There's some English actors from like sitcoms and stuff like that, like people out of Benidorm and stuff like that. But other than that, there's no one. I don't think there's anyone as famous as Robert Plant. I don't think.
We're forgetting Delhi's best mate, AJ Tracy, as well.
I mean, he's good. He is good. I like a bit of AJ Tracy on the way to the game. That's perfect.
Yeah. So who's AJ Tracy, Dave?
Okay.
Dave-O?
Yeah, Robert Plant. I'll give you Robert Plant. You give me AJ Tracy. Who's AJ Tracy?
He's a rapper.
He's a massive Spurs fan.
He's a rapper and a massive Spurs fan. In fact, when we did the kit launch for the Still We Rise, if you remember that, when we were away at Wembley for the first season, he did the theme tune for the launch party of the kit. There you go. That for you. Look him up. It'll be right up your street. If you like Guns N' Roses, you will love AJ Tracy, I tell you.
I get to listen to a lot of mumble rap, drill, and grime through my kids. So I look forward to adding him to my portfolio of listening on Spotify.
He's good. Mumble rap sounds interesting. I didn't know that was a genre, but I reckon I could do a bit of that. AJ Tracy, yeah, check him out. I'll actually post show. I'll just put it on the sound system. Prior to the show, we were getting down and groovy with Guns N' Roses, followed by Lady Gaga. And if you know the link to that, and you're watching, then stick the answer in the comment box. Question to the panel: Kane's professionalism and commitment was never questioned by the fan base till all of this happened. Will it be a simple case of if he stays, a few goals scored and all is forgotten? Let's go, Shannon. And Wolves, Dave, I will take your view on this as well at the end. Shannon, go to you first.
I don't think it will be forgotten. I think it's too far. Obviously, I think it's a really difficult one to answer, right? If he starts scoring goals again, signs a new contract and stays, he could potentially get that status that he had before back. But if he scores a few goals and this rumbles on into next season and then again he's rumoured to leave, I think all of that respect that he's had will be gone. I think he's got an awful lot of work to do to try and get us back on side. And I think he has tarnished his legacy a little bit. I think the way he's handled it is completely wrong. And for the England captain is completely disgraceful way of handling himself. He should know better and he should do better. So yeah, I definitely think he's got a lot of work to do to even be near to the sort of adoration. We all loved the guy, right? He was our absolute hero. He was Spurs through and through, one of our own, and he doesn't care about that. In fact, in his statement, he comes out and says the fans are picking on him. That's no way to get the fans on side. The fans are pissed off, and rightly so. So yeah, he's definitely got a lot of work to do. And the picture of him training isn't anywhere near enough to try to start doing that. He's definitely in a deep hole, and he needs to get himself out of it.
I mean, I missed this one, but another one in the bank. I'm sure that's a coded message to City. But Dave O, that is. What's your view on that?
Look, we've seen this all before. Mancini and Tevez had a row. Tevez went off for 4 months, came back, helped them win the league. Wayne Rooney was flirting with Man City. United fans drove up from Surrey, stood outside his mansion up north.
There's the answer then.
And he signed. It's just, but this is, I'm not, has he disrespected us and all this kind of stuff? He's agitated for a move like any other player has. And I think it's all been a massive misunderstanding anyway, because we all know that Kane went on holiday in 2 of Joe Lewis's holiday places. And I think the gentleman's agreement was that he thought he had the buffet breakfast and the kids club thrown into the package, and they didn't honour it. So that's what the whole thing's all about.
Hey, Stu.
like, as weird as this is going to sound, I never loved Harry Kane in the way that perhaps you should do. Someone, the best striker we've had in 50 years, scores loads of goals, but there was just something relatively cold about him anyway. But I think we're in that fool me once territory, right? Like, we've all been fooled a little bit that Kane isn't the Spurs guy through and through that maybe a lot of Spurs fans thought he was going to be. If he does it again, it's fool me twice category. But right now, it's on him. So, look, if he comes back and starts scoring goals, I won't. I will love the fact that Spurs are hopefully winning. But when it comes to Spurs players that I have man crushes on, Harry Kane has never really been it.
Yeah, but in fairness, Dyer was your man crush.
Yeah, Dyer was my man crush for a long time. Absolutely, Van der Vaart before Dyer. When I was a teenager, it was Dean Austin. Like, there's no real logic to it. But, like, when it comes to man crushes, Harry Kane, despite being the player that he's been, was never really it for me. So, Højbjerg right now. I was a defender when I was a kid. I like defensive players probably more than anything else. Flair players every now and again. But, it's clear that Son is more likable than Kane is. And I think that was true even before Kane did what he did this summer.
Wolves, Dave.
I think I said it a little bit earlier on. I think it's a very difficult situation for both the player and the club. But I think it's if he agrees to stay or Spurs decide not to sell up and he start scoring the goals again, I think it will be very quickly forgotten. If I'm honest, it's one of those, like you said, you can't. If a team like Manchester City are interested, it's very, very difficult to ignore, regardless of which team you play for. And I understand, it's his team, Spurs are his team, and that's who he's played for this amount of time. But I think as long as he gets his head down and he starts scoring goals and you're winning games and you're in the top 6 or top 4 again, I think by January, as long as City don't come calling again, it will be all forgotten.
Here's an interesting one for you, HG. I saw Lewandowski's wants to leave Bayern, and his fee is being touted at 100 million. I'm not sure if euros or pounds. He's 35 years old, isn't he? Or 34, turning 35. What does that make Kane worth? And do you think City could move someone like him? Obviously not if they only want to pay 100 million quid for a striker, I guess. But
look, I don't think Lewandowski wants to leave Bayern. I think that was just a load of crap. But let's say it was true. City could easily go there. I just think Lewandowski may want to have another move before he retires, but I don't think that's possible. Certainly in the climate that we have today with the economy and everything. So to me it was just that they needed some kind of story to talk about, and they made the whole thing up. Like, if Bayern let Lewandowski go, they don't have a central striker either. Right, so then they'd need to replace it. It's not as if Bayern's squad is that deep when it comes to strikers. It really isn't. They have a few players that can play that role every now and again, but when it comes to the number 9, Bayern have Lewandowski. That's about it. So to me, I can't see any of it. And the musical chairs that will take place with all the central strikers, with all the centre forwards over the next 12 months will be really interesting. But Kane will get his move at some point, I'm sure of it, but I just don't think it will be this summer.
Interesting. Davo, anything to add?
Well, according to Wikipedia, it's his 32nd birthday today here in Australia. You're tomorrow, so happy birthday to Robert. I know you like the cheese room. But the point is that you've got the Mbappe situation, isn't it? He's got 2 years or 1 year left at PSG. 1 year, and he wants to go to Real. Yeah,
looks like it.
Yeah, so you got Haaland, and then you got Kane. So you have this situation of these kind of uber strikers. So Kane might do a deal where he signs a 1 year extension for a bit more money, and then he has his clause in there, and then he goes next summer. So that's one way back. But look, okay, has he behaved correctly? No. Do I really care? No. If he comes back in and scores lots of goals, I don't care.
And now Vlahovic has been linked to Manchester City. Shan, how much is that going to upset Harry? He's almost being forced gradually back into a box, isn't he? And that box is taped with "open" by Nuno at a time when he chooses.
That's an image. That's a nice image.
Yeah.
Kane in a box, available from all good retailers. Shannon, what do you think about this? I mean, how upset is Kane going to be if City sign a striker who was a Tottenham target? That's game over, isn't it?
I mean, I think he'll be upset, and rightly so. But he shouldn't be upset with Daniel Levy. He should be upset with Manchester City. Manchester City are the ones that haven't come up with a suitable offer. I don't blame Daniel Levy for not answering the phone. If they're only offering us 127 million, there's no way he's if Lewandowski's 100 million, then Harry Kane is worth every penny of that 160 million that Levy wants. And obviously, we've got to replace him with probably 2 or 3 players. So we'd need to then reinvest that money into the squad. So, yeah, he has every right to be upset if that's what he wants. If he wants to go to City just to win hollow trophies, as I call them, then, yeah, be upset. But don't be upset with us. Be upset with City.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I've got another question here in the run sheet that I think someone slid in. And this question is, do you think Hugo will leave at the end of the season? Then we're going to come on and talk about transfer rumours, and we'll do match predictions last. Shannon, do you think this is the end of Hugo, his last year at the club?
Yeah, I think he's aging. I think he's going to want to go back to France for his swan song before he retires. I think that's definitely why we've brought in Galini. He's clearly seen as the future number 1 at Spurs. Obviously, it'll be a sad day for us all when he goes. I think this weekend will be his 300th. Have I said that right? 300, yeah. 300th club appearance for Spurs. Obviously,
Premier League. Premier League, yeah.
Yeah. So again, he's a club legend in his own right. It would be more if he didn't have that injury that he got against Brighton as well, where he was out for half the season. So. Yeah, obviously he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Still, it still worries me when he has the ball at his feet because his distribution isn't great and he does tend to panic. Obviously, that Danny Ings goal against Southampton springs to mind where it was there and but still, he's one of the best shots. Can't speak tonight. Shot stoppers in the world, and we'll definitely miss him when he goes.
Okay, good stuff. Well, let's talk a few transfer rumours and go through some comments. So I've seen this one. Thanks, Leon. Leon, massive supporter of the podcast. In fact, Leon, if you're watching, we do need to get you on a show. Just I'm saving an ENIC in-out debate just for you, Davo, and someone who's got the time and patience to put up with you both. Papa Sarr will play for you like that one. Will play for Tottenham Hotspur. Met's board confirmed there is a verbal agreement. Let's hope it's not a gentleman's one regarding the sale of 10 million plus 5 million euros in bonus. I mean, that's like 8 million quid, is it, or something up front? Would this be a good signing, HG? Do you think? And if this is the case, that's a real coup, isn't it? He's 18 and sought after by Chelsea, Manchester City, and Manchester United, from what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you've covered it pretty much. Like, I know he's from Senegal, came to French football, a year and a half ago. Has only really played one year in French football as a professional and really does look the business. I mean, granted, I'm going on the YouTube videos that everyone will claim are just terrible, but like you can definitely see what a player's about. He's 18. I did read that perhaps that we would buy him and then send him back to Metz on loan for a year. I don't know how true that is. Given their midfield situation, I kind of hope it isn't true because he may well be good enough to be certainly a squad player to begin with for Spurs. But he's just 18, I think 19 next month. He's still a youngster, but it does appear to be a real coup. And if it's true, I mean, it's not just these weird, Calcio Mercato or some, weird foreign website. I think L'Equipe, the French sports newspaper, have reported it as well. So it looks like it might be possible. But yeah, you're right. 10 million euros is pretty much peanuts for any player these days. Certainly one that's extremely highly rated.
I believe Metz were desperate for funds. I can't remember exact reason why. I
mean, they have to be. I mean, lots of French teams are desperate for funds. But you look at, Camavinga's another one who's in French football. He's got a year left on his deal. He could be going to Man United or Real Madrid or wherever. But yeah, like there are clubs in France that are struggling. I think Lyon have transfer listed Hossemoua, and he's available for 25 million euros, and they might be lucky to get that. I think there are lots of teams in France that are struggling for money, and yeah, Steve Hitchin would be there to take advantage. But it's an interesting one because not many of us had heard of him before today. But you want to believe the rumours that make it sound good, right? Wanted by all these big teams, and he's chosen Spurs. But let's hope it's true because we do need strengthening in midfield.
Yeah, well, we do. I mean, the rumour I've heard is that this is going to be a buy and load immediately back to Metz. So we wouldn't see him till next season at the earliest, I guess. But buying up future talent, that certainly seems to be a strategy from what I've seen so far. What did you make of Hill last night, Shannon? I think you're the only. Did you see any of the game?
Yeah, I sort of watched it in sections.
Was that in your car or your caravan or
walking around Pleasure Beach, which was a delight, obviously. Yeah, no, I turned it on just in time to watch us concede the goal. So I probably just shouldn't have turned it on at all. But yeah, from what I saw, he certainly looks tricky. I mean, he was trying to get the ball forward. It just seems that every player he passed it to then ran into a defender, and it was just a complete waste of time. He must have been so frustrated. But yeah, he definitely looks like a prospect. It'll be good to see what he can do with decent players playing with him that aren't Harry Winks and Doherty. Yeah, I mean, even Sessegnon weren't bad, but I mean, it's bad when you're bringing on Jack Clark to try and dig you out of a hole at half time. If we're talking about buying young talent here, what a waste of money Jack Clark. And to be fair, Sessegnon have been. So, let's be honest, Jack Clark is good enough for the Championship at best. He's not going to be a Spurs player. So, yeah, from what I saw, I'm quite glad I didn't have to sit and watch it all, if I'm honest.
Well, here's a man who did. HG. And what did you make of Hill?
We were decent for the first 5 minutes.
Of Hill.
Yeah, but Brian Hill in the first 3 minutes beat a couple of men down the left wing and set up Sessegnon for a half chance. That was about as good as it got for Spurs. After that, I feel like Brian Hill is almost being asked to do what Pedro Neto did for Wolves last year. He's kind of this left-footed attacking player that can pretty much go wherever he wants. But as Nuno said in the post-match interview, he played 3 different positions for Spurs last night. Because we started off with what looked like being more of a 3-5-2, and then it was a 3-4-3 when Clark came on. Obviously, he's been training with us for a week or two, if that. So, but he did look the most likely to score for Spurs, but that's a very low bar because nobody else looked like scoring for Spurs. We were just, it was poor. It was one of the poorest games of football I've seen in a long time. And I think, as I said in my conclusions that I write on the Facebook page, had Passos really gone for it in the second half, I think they could have beaten us by 2 or 3. I think we were lucky that they decided to sit back and hold on to the 1-0. If away goals had counted, then that might have been a smarter move to do. But the fact that they don't anymore, you have to hope that Spurs will turn it around. But yeah, we were atrocious. I mean, really, really bad last night.
Yeah, I'm just ignoring it, really. The last game we played, as far as I'm concerned, was Man City. I'm on a high from that still, and no one's going to ruin it for me. Peter Cook was a Yido. There you go. Susie Perry. Is that Katy Perry's long-lost sister or something? Was a Wolves fan?
She's she used to be the Formula One host. She's on the Gadget show in the UK. Remember?
I should know that, really.
You should know that, caller.
Massive F1 fan. All my pictures up on the wall.
Yeah, Susie. We did. I've got a family business, and we did work for her before as well. So yeah, nice lady.
The tenor on the Go Compare advert. He's a Spurs fan. The fat Welsh guy.
The Welsh guy.
Yeah, he even sung at the opening. We were really looking forward to it. The most famous Spurs fan is probably Adele right now. Biggest female artist on the planet.
Jude Law.
Adele's bigger than both of them put together. I mean, literally. And
don't say that.
No, bad. Okay,
can't say that.
I just did, and we were looking forward to someone big singing at the opening, and they were big. It was the Welsh dude off the Go Compare adverts. She's not bigger than him, by the way. She's not bigger than him. Steve Nash, massive.
I want Steve Nash. I want Steve Nash to buy Tottenham in a kind of showbiz conglomerate with Jude Law, Adele. Bring it on.
Jude Law.
Can you imagine Adele like doing the negotiations with Charlie Kane?
She'd eat it. Oh no!
You can't say that.
I think she'd kill him in a negotiation. I didn't think she'd literally eat him.
No.
Oh God, this is going bad.
Caller, you do realise Adele's skinny now, right?
Yes, she
I
is
do.
skinny.
Yeah, she's lost a few pounds. It's true. I like this one. Like Skywalker is a Wolves fan. That's Luke Skywalker's long lost cousin. Hopefully, get a club call. Here we go. Fans are fickle. Goal at New Stadium, and we'll be singing his name again.
Correct.
I'm not so sure. I think there's a lot. I think obviously it will get cheered and everything. I'm not sure it's going to be all is forgiven that quickly. I've got to be honest. Jeff Beck's a Spurs fan, so all those teams that use hi-ho silver lining, hi-ho Wolverhampton are in the wrong. There you go.
Yeah.
Think about that when you're singing it, Dave, on Sunday, I should say. There you go. No matter what Kane has done in the past, the fact that he stayed away from the ground on Saturday, returned to fail from holiday, and make himself unavailable tomorrow, which I'm sure he will, is a disgrace. Kane was in the video today, but it was like he was never there. The camera never left Son. There we go. Someone got it. Guns N' Roses and Gaga are playing both gigs at beloved stadium. I bet the fans are looking forward to the cripplingly long walk from Seven Sisters Tube in the pissing cold rain of afterwards. It's obviously very big. We had Guns N' Roses and Gaga pre-show. What should we have after show? What do you fancy?
AJ Tracy.
I'm taking the question. We'll do AJ Tracy. We'll do it. When we go off the air, we'll do
I'm down with that.
AJ Tracy. I see you've responded to this one, HG. What position do you play now?
Yeah. Do I have to say it? You're going to show the comment?
No, I'm just going to show it. Goalkeeper. I'm tall and fat and don't like running.
I've got great vision. So because I'm tall, but if you stick me at the back, give me the ball. The goalkeeper rolls it to me. I can pass it really well, but let's face it, no one really wants to go and goal apart from the old fat man. So I do it to help the team. But it's fun.
You are the old fat man.
Pretty much. I mean, I play with a bunch of guys who were in their early 20s, so I'm double their age, some of them. But I enjoy it. So
I bet you've got more intensity and aggression in you than them.
No, I'm basically not competitive at all. Like, I want to play, but I don't really care about winning. Which again is probably a good thing to put me in goal, because I like to stop the people who think they're good. That's why I was a defender.
So we're going to adopt what's known as the Ndembele attitude. Is that fair to say?
Because I'm not being paid thousands of pounds a week to do it. There's a big difference there. But I don't care about winning. I want to play. I want to enjoy myself. And if some young twat is trying to run rings around me to prove a point, I just laugh at him and then kick him in the showers. I'm definitely a goalkeeper at heart now. And I've got long arms.
Paddy, I've got to say, Shan scares me.
I don't understand.
Paul Russell says this is dragging on too long. Not sure about he means the show or the Kane fiasco, but one way or the other. Have we signed Tommy Asu yet? No. What was ironic about the Champions League semi-final when they didn't have a worry about a thing by Bob Marley? Yeah, that's true. That is true. Do you remember that half-time? The Ajax were, what were they, 2-0 up? 3-0 up on aggregate and played Don't Worry About a Thing by Bob Marley. Well, look who's laughing now. Ajax.
To be fair to Ajax, they do play that at almost every game. Sorry, Dave, go.
Yeah, sorry. One person we haven't talked about and just mentioned there is Ndombele. So
there's a reason for that. His career's dead. He's pretty much, he's in Nuno's naughty list. I can't imagine that anything's going to come back from that. Well, do you want to talk about him for a sec?
Well, look, I would just say if we could, I like the look of that guy at Lyon. I mean, I looked at his YouTube clip last night. Anyone can look good on YouTube, but I can't pronounce his name. HD, obviously, Hussein Aouare at Lyon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some good stats, and he looks like an attacking midfielder who can pass the ball a bit and dictate tempo. If we could do a deal and get Ndombele out, and we're going to have to make a loss on Ndombele, I'd be more than happy with that.
I think everyone would be happy to get a player for Ndombele right now that we could just use.
Yes, I agree. I think I want him out. He's got to go.
More than Levy or less than Levy? I'm joking.
But apparently he loves the fans, according to someone on here.
I'm going to put you on mute. What are your opinions on the Celso's performance last night? Now, this is an interesting point to pick up. HG, he was not very good, was he? He's trying to get back in that first team. He got Skip and Højbjerg holding down their midfield anchor positions now. What's Lo Celso's opportunity to get back in? He's got to turn in better performances than that, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, nobody played well last night. Like, I got a bit of heat from one guy who I know hates Lo Celso, but when I did my conclusions yesterday, I named like Spurs' worst 3 players, and Lo Celso probably came 4th in my brain, so I didn't write him down. Nobody played well, really. Sessegnon had moments of skill. Hill had good moments. The goalkeeper was probably our 3rd best player, but Lo Celso, like, it is difficult because I feel like the way that Passos were playing, they were pretty physical in midfield, and it was just Lo Celso and Winks trying to do it all by themselves. We didn't really have another option. Niall John played the first half, and he's just a kid. So it's rough to look that great when in Lo Celso's case, he's playing with Winks, right? I mean, like, he's got to do everything, and he's not good enough to do everything. Like, we don't have a midfielder really that can sit in the middle of the park and really, even Højbjerg on his best day can't do it all by himself. So I feel like Lo Celso, yes, he played badly last night, but yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a fanboy. I like Lo Celso. He did play badly last night, and I want to see us, mix the teams a bit more. Like you can't expect Dane Scarlett to score if he's playing with bad players or lesser quality players. And Lo Celso isn't really much different. He looked good at Betis. He looked good for Argentina, playing in a completely different role. It's tough because we spent a lot of money on him. So perhaps we do need to expect a bit more. But you have to hope that in a 4-3-3, I think Lo Celso would look great. But we didn't play 4-3-3 at all last night. So it's just rough. We need some numbers in midfield to really continue to look good.
Non-aggressive City fan here. There you go. Just wanted to say this is a great fan channel. Keep up the good work. Thanks very much, Oscar. Maybe you could feature in the return leg. Drop me a DM and we can sort it out. If Son gets injured, we're in the mud. Yeah, same every season, that, to be honest. The man versus food guy is a Spurs fan. He actually is Adam Richmond. And,
I sat in front of him at Stamford Bridge.
He's a fan of podcasts and stuff. We're going to see if we can get him on. So watch this space. There's loads and loads and loads of good comments. So look, thanks very much for all of those. Just very quickly, because time is rattling on here. We're at an hour and 37 minutes. So the latest transfer rumours. Ali Gold says Spurs need to sell before working on Paratici's targets, but that's proving difficult. Well, if you're trying to sell Winks and Sissoko, yes, it probably is very difficult right now. But it does look, guys, that we've got to look to sell before we can buy right now, which is possibly disappointing. But let's go through the outs. So Tongi is told the club he wants to leave, and Nuno confirms he's not in the squad for Sunday's game. Shan, the end of Tongi. I know we've covered it briefly, but for you, he's never really got going, has he?
We'll never see him in a Spurs shirt again.
57 million, was he? I think
200 grand a week in wages. He gets paid more than Sonny.
Yeah,
the guy is a disgrace. I don't want to see him in a Spurs shirt again. He needs to go.
Shan has spoken. I mean, I didn't prepare this run sheet, but this is sad. Harry Winks wants to stay and fight for his place. Well, I mean, if that's the true, whoever that's come from, and I'm assuming it's you, Davo. No, is it you, Shan? Why on earth didn't he turn up last night then? That's all I'm saying about that.
Because he's not going to go to another club that pays him as much, and he won't be able to get into another squad better than Spurs. He's laughing. He's absolutely stealing and living. Yeah. But because he's a Spurs fan, it's all right, apparently.
Absolutely not on my watch. And Sanchez has been taken off the transfer list, which is probably a little bit hasty after one good performance. But you can't argue it was a very good performance against Manchester City. So players we're in for. This is the bit where everyone loves my pronunciations of names. Hossam Oar.
Yeah, that's the guy that Davo spoke about a few minutes ago.
Yeah. No, I'm aware. Would you like to see him in a Spurs shirt, HG?
Like if Nuno wants him, yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about him. I watched him play the under-21s for France in the summer, and he was awful. So I don't know, but like we just need reinforcements. We need new blood, and if we can do that on the cheap, and other teams are interested, so. Like it's tough. Like we've been through the players that I would like us to sign before, but Uar's not really one of them.
All right. But, how's this one grab you then? Kurt Zuma, Chelsea defender. Davo, I mean, I'm not being funny. This is terrible news, isn't it?
Yeah, he has lapses in concentration, so he'll fit right in with our central defence. So, no, here all week. No, don't want him.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've talked about Pape Sarr. Can I just say, I'll take offers on pronouncing the last name on the list, but apparently from Ruben Kazan, the winger, that's the best way of describing it. His name is Kavitska. And he is well sought after, and apparently this deal is quite advanced. Do you know anything about him, HG?
No, frankly. I've seen a few highlights here, but again, he's a young winger. I mean, it's clear that we're trying to, get a younger squad. Ruben Kazan, obviously, I think they got knocked out of Europe in the qualifiers, so it's a chance for him to make a move to a big league. If we want him, I suspect it can happen. But if we have to sell to sign these players, then I don't see that happening. I don't know who we have in our squad that could bring in the money that's needed. I mean, because Dombele is in theory worth it, but no one's got the money to pay for him. Are we really going to sell Kane to City? If we do, I don't really want a winger. So I just think that if we are going to make signings, and you have to hope we are, a lot of them will be loans, just like we did last year with Carlos Vinicius. We'll be getting people in on loan. And we'll pay a small loan fee for that to happen, and there'll be some kind of clause that we can sign them next summer for a hugely inflated price. But that seems to be like, if it's true that we have to sell before we can buy, then we're going to be looking at loans, and they tend to be. I guess we'll see. But it's a rough thing.
Sorry, I saw that guy you were linked with earlier, the Kazan winger. And I remember I saw someone I tried to say his surname and my furniture started to float.
It's pretty much it, I've got to be honest.
So Dave, you've spent the last hour and a half in Tottenham fans' company. There's a stereotype about Tottenham fans that they're a bunch of moaners. What do you think?
Only you, Dave. I'll answer it for you.
Paula, I wasn't asking you.
I can see it, but at the same time, I think. No, I think every fan base is the same. I think, and with the situation you guys are in, when you're key player, you don't know what's going on. I think you got every right to be concerned, at least, about the club anyway.
Yeah. Panel, what have we spent this transfer window? Loan for Galini, Romero. I mean, Romero's 40 million. The loan is like immaterial, really. It's the only way they could process the transaction. And then 21 mil for Hill, I should say, which isn't really 21 million because you've got to add on Lamella's cost. Galini is bought with a view to buy. But I'm just going to say, good window or bad? Concise answer, please. HG.
Well, so far it's been pretty bad, if I'm honest.
Good. Right.
I like I like the players that we've got, but we've also let a couple go that I would have liked to keep. So no, not a great
Eric
one.
Lamela.
No, I mean, I'm glad he's gone. I'm really glad he's gone. I saw today someone saying Lamela was one of the easiest to shift, and if that isn't an indictment on the other players, I don't know what is, because Lamela has done nothing in 8 years to have any team really want him, and the fact that we somehow palmed him off on Sevilla, Lamela clearly is a very lucky man.
Well, Admittedly, that might very well be the case. He might be, but he's still part of that Hill deal. Davo, good win or bad? Very briefly, quicker than HG.
Bad.
Okay, and Shan, good window or bad?
It isn't over until the fat lady sings, or as Caller would say, Adele in this case.
I knew where you were going with that. I mean, she's lost a lot of weight. Don't be mean to Adele now.
Oh, come on.
Wow. Don't cover yourself up, Caller. You're the one who said
I
it.
might want to get her on the show,
Yeah, she's definitely want to come on now.
Yeah. Well, we've got you on the show, Davo, so who could resist that?
What? I'm going to attract Adele on with my looks? I don't think so.
There we go again, HG. You're just showing off now. Go on, you pronounce it. Go on.
Well, I would say his surname, I would say, is Kvaratskhelia, but I don't know how to say it. I really don't. But yeah, I think he'll just be called Double K, won't he? I mean, it'll just be KK, like Højbjerg is PEH.
As long as it's not Triple K, we're all right.
Well, yeah, right, if
His middle name. Yeah.
We're safe. We're all right. We're good. Right.
Special K? Could we call him Special K if he's any good?
No.
Can't we call him Sheila?
If you want to. Shan, you got brought the dog in?
I've got a Nala here to see everyone. Oh no, thank you.
There we go. I was going to ask if you had any shout outs to everyone, so pass it around the room. HG, any shout outs today?
No, just come on, you Spurs. I hope we beat Wolves. Sorry, Dave, but I do want us to beat Wolves, obviously, at the weekend. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good weekend. Actually, I should say this. Tomorrow is the yearly Austria Spurs get-together. So I'll be heading down to a place just outside Vienna to meet with all the other miserable buggers. Some of us are English, but a lot of the Austrians, they do come and they love the Spurs as much as we do. So that should be a fun event. And there are rumours of some kind of special guest, but I don't know who the surprise will be. So we'll see what happens.
And let's have your prediction while we're at it, HG. So I only have to go around once. What's your prediction for Sunday's game?
Yeah, I think we'll win 2-1. Like Spurs are always bad for a clean sheet. I mean, we always know that we should concede one, but I like the way our front four seem to be working. So 2-1.
Davo, any shout outs and score predictions?
Well, maybe the special guest is going to be HG's hero, Dean Austin, coming along. So that could be one of HG's greatest days of his life. At the end of every one of these, when we do the "Come on, you Spurs" at the end, I'm always cut off at the end. So it's like, "Come on, like that," and I'm gone. So I'm going to say, "Come on, you Spurs" now, and you can't edit me out. So prediction 2-1 Tottenham.
I would never intentionally edit you out, Davo. In the words of Arsene Wenger, I didn't see it. Shan, any shout outs? I mean, you've got your dogs here. And score prediction?
Yeah, I'm just going to shout out Bob Spur because he's here. He seems to be here every show, and he's always supporting. So big up, Bob.
Yeah, big up, Bob.
Looking forward to being on the show tomorrow night as well. It's going to be a late one, but I have nothing else to do this weekend, so looking forward to it.
And Bob's on Monday, actually, so you'll get a double dose of Bob.
Get a double whammy of Bob. Who could ask for more? So yeah, and score prediction. I mean, we have got the two best centre backs in Dyer and Sanchez in the league, so so I'm going to go for 2-0 Spurs.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave, because we do actually like you. But...
And I've got to say, Dave, that's a very swanky light up wolf you've got in the background.
That.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Can you ship a giant cock to Australia for Dave?
I could respond on something, but I won't.
No, you can't. I've got my finger over the mute button. Prediction, Dave. And any shout-outs you want to float? You shout out.
Well, I haven't really got any shout-outs, but I mean, I was looking at... Do you want
to talk about your show at all, or
I run a channel called Talking Wolves, so sort of similar to what you guys do. We do a podcast, but do match previews, match reviews, and chat about the transfers as well, which always do quite well. And obviously on all the social medias, posted about the rumours and so on. But yeah, I was going to say, I was looking at all the match facts before the game, and there's quite a lot of interesting ones, mostly in Spurs' favour. But it's the 100th game between Wolves and Spurs in all competitions this weekend. So, yeah. But I'll back my own team. I'll go 2-1 Wolves. And come on, you Wolves.
2-1 Wolves. Scorers.
I got to back my own team. Yeah.
Traore to score.
Yeah, go on. After I've slated him at the start, he'll bag up. Traore and Jimenez.
Yeah. I thought you were more generous than Davo, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a shout out. So I work with a young lady called Parveen, and her nieces and nephews watch us. So shout out to Ishani, Ashen, and Fabio. Thanks very much for watching. Keep watching, and maybe follow Spurs, obviously. And I'm going to say we're going to win, which will really upset my dad. 3-1. And Kane, I believe, will be involved this weekend. I think he's going to sneak in onto the bench. But won't be needed because he's surplus to requirements. Sorry, Harry. So look, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for all your interaction with us. Thanks for your shout outs. Follow us on all the socials. Do hit like on this video. Do subscribe. We've got a new podcast out. There's been a couple of new podcasts for the season. I think we're on episode 3 already. And better than the first 3 Star Wars episodes, if I'm honest. So looking forward to getting another one in the bank, Harry Kane style, this Sunday. So do follow Franco and Brendan. We're on all the usual podcast providers, iTunes, Spotify. So do get over there and give us a follow and shout out to the podcast guys. In the meantime, thanks very much for joining us, Dave.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Go on, Davo.
Come on, you Spurs.